Hammer's excited. Jason's awesome. There you go. They're ready for you. Let's bring them on here. Jason Shapiro, how are we doing today? And I like the shirt, a little Metallica.
I just got this 2 weeks ago. I was at their show in Sweden.
Oh, man, I know you had to have loved that show. Definitely. You can't go wrong with a little Metallica. So, hey, it seems like this market right now has been a lot of rock and roll to the upside. So let's talk a little bit about that. Today, we got a little surprise GDP, and I think that, some people were out there already thinking, man, the soft landing idea for a while was a crazy narrative, but it's almost starting to play out now, especially as we see the economy staying strong. What do you think, at least from the surprise number that you saw today?
The surprise to me is that it's a surprise. I don't really know what these people do all day, but to me, you go out, you can't get a seat in a restaurant, you can't get a seat on an airplane, and it's been like
That's
that.
The truth.
It's been like that the whole year. So I don't know really what these Wall Street analysts do all day, other than try to desperately find something to fit their bearishness. And so they call for, recession, and despite everything that's in their face. So the surprise to me is that it's a surprise, quite frankly.
Yeah. I mean, I know what that is like, because I could just rewind the tape and just bring all the analysts, experts that I talked to last year that were telling me, stay the heck away from technology. Well, we've certainly seen how that has come into play. It's been a massive move in kind of this AI kind of driven move in technology. What do you think about this recent tech rally? Do you think it can keep holding here?
I think that the market can continue to go up. So that's the high beta stuff. So I don't see why that wouldn't continue to lead the market. I would personally, at this point, just based on the data that I look at, I'd be more biased toward being long Russell type of stuff here. I am not long the market here. I've gone flat about 2 weeks ago. We were long kind of all year and went flat just because of the way I trade. It has nothing to do with the way other people need to trade. But if I were to be long, I'd be long Russell here more than anything else.
Definitely, that's been a nice little upbreak in the Russell, and then I know that a lot of people were keeping an eye on that move to see when the Russell was actually going to partake in the rally. We've got a nice little up move here, and of course, today we saw that kind of move from the banking industry. There was a little bit of kind of interesting seeing that today with the stress test. I know that I don't think anybody out there was thinking that the banks were probably going to get hit on that stress test, but a surprise move in JPM today, already up about what? Now we're up about almost 3% here. What do you think about the banking situation? Was this just overblown?
I was reading an article today about how the banks are the number1 place that people are short here. And so I'm a big fader of consensus. So if the consensus is that, that banks are the place to be short, then I think the banks are clearly going to rip. My #1 fade in the world, whose name I don't need to get into here, but he is also short XLF, and this guy's wrong an unbelievable amount of the time. So I think that banks are probably pretty good here.
Yeah, let's take a look at another area that was kind of the leading area last year, which was energy names, right? We've seen today another mention from Oxy, of course, Warren getting a little bit more of Occidental Petroleum and moving up to 25%. How do you feel about energy overall?
I wouldn't be, again, it doesn't mean it can't go up, but for me personally, energy is not the place to be. There's much better places to be than energy. You guys have been talking energy, forever, right? Except last year when it was the place to be. And now since then, now they want to be in energy and it goes nowhere. I think that's dead money personally.
Definitely. I mean, you can think about it for Oxy, essentially from January, it's gone, what, 2% down? I mean,
and look, Warren Buffett, is in this thing for 50 years. So, you want to play with Warren Buffett, it's not a bad idea. The guy knows how to invest clearly, but the thing will go down 20% and he'll buy more. You know what I mean? That's how he does it. Right. So if you want to play that way, if that's how you like to invest, sure. But if you're playing as a trader, then personally, I don't think that oil stocks are the place to be here. I think there's dozens of other places. I'd rather be in the banks than the oil stocks.
All right. Now, of course, tech seems like the obvious place, but I'd like to ask you, what sectors or industries do you see opportunities now?
Yeah, like I say, I'm I believe the bank story. I believe the Russell story. From here, if I'm to be long, that's where I would be long.
All right, that's not a bad one at all. And I did want to get a little bit more about your personality, get to learn a little bit. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you a little bit on is, what is like a quote that sticks to you for new traders out there? We got a lot of new traders in the chat here trying to learn a little bit more about swing trading and getting into a little bit of different size positions than, let's just say, your average day trade. So what is a quote that maybe sticks with you?
The trader that I think is the best guy out there is Druckenmiller. And I think my favorite quote from him is, and this is a very smart guy, and it's obviously a very successful guy. You're talking about a billionaire who made his billions trading the market. And he has a lot of opinions that are very educated opinions, and he says them sometimes and he writes them. But my favorite quote from him is, I'm wrong far too often to count on being right to make money. And I think that's the most important thing that people have to understand. This game is not about being right or wrong. This game is about making money,
100%.
So that whole right, wrong thing, you got to get that out of your mind.
Yeah, I think it's part of, how we grow up, and we're always like, trying to be right or wrong.
Without a doubt. This is all about getting away from all the things. This is what makes it so hard, right? All the things that you have learned your entire life,
exactly,
you have to get away from in order to be successful doing this.
Yeah, and a lot of that times is because for a while we were probably a little bit worried about failing, a little bit worried about, being wrong. But you get to a certain point where, especially trading, you get to this point where you're just like, I'm going to be wrong. It's not even a question.
You better believe it. You better believe it. And so the best thing you can do is be wrong, and be wrong small.
Yeah, be wrong small.
The quicker you can admit that you were wrong, the quicker you can get out of it and move on to something where you can make some money.
Exactly. And I feel like that's why I do this show, Swing Trading, is to show traders that, it's not always going to be, maybe grabbing thousands and thousands of shares of a penny stock that is going to get you to that success, but more along trying to just get into smaller positions and take multiple shots at the goal versus just take one.
100%.
No, definitely.
It's 100% the case. You can put all your money into one thing, and if it happens to work, you can make a whole bunch of money very quickly. But over time, that's not going to work for you, because you're going to put all your money into one thing and it's not going to work. And then you're going to be screwed, and you're not going to be able to get out because you lost too much money. And then it's going to keep going against you, and you're not going to be able to get out because you lost too much money, and you're going to blow out. And take it from me, because I've done that. These are all things that I have done in my life. I'm 55 now. I've been trading since I'm 22. These are all things that I have done in my life, and hopefully, knock wood, have learned from. And it's very difficult. I was just having a conversation last night with, is it possible for somebody to learn that without doing it? And I don't know that the answer is yes. I mean, that the answer is no. I think the answer is yeah. The only way to learn is to blow out. Unfortunately, how many people are going to listen to somebody like me? Oh, who's going to listen to this freaking guy sitting in a Metallica shirt? Screw him, right? Okay. Well, then go learn your own lesson, but know that the lesson is there's a good chance you're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah. The markets always humble you. That's for sure. You can say whatever you want. They'll humble you. Just keep playing the game. Find out for yourself. Now I'm going to go through a little bit of some questions from the chat. I want to at least get to some of their questions that they have here. One question is a little bit on PCE. Are you interested in the PCE report tomorrow? Is that something that would change your mind on inflation? No.
I think that the whole thing that people are going through with this inflation Fed thing, quite frankly, is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
I think it's past.
Why is it bullshit?
Because everybody knows it. So there's no edge. You know what I mean? You can tell me the Fed's going to raise rate 2 times this year. Okay. What have you just told me that everybody in the world doesn't know? There's no edge there. So how are you going to make money off of that?
Exactly.
To me, it's complete and utter bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
And unless you knew saying, the higher PCE comes out, the more Fed's going to have to raise, and theoretically that's supposed to be bearish the market. Well, every time one of these strong numbers comes out and the bonds go down, the stock market goes up, right? Why can't you make the argument that these things are good for the stock market because the economy is growing and theoretically that's supposed to be good, right? Nobody wants to make that argument anymore because they've all been bearish, right? They're bearish, therefore all these things should be bearish. But as we see, the tape tells you all,
Tape doesn't lie, man.
If you could have gotten on December 31st of last year, if you could have gotten every piece of data that we've had this year beforehand, okay, the bank failures, right? The extra growth, the interest rates, you know, the Fed raising rates, where would you say that the S&P would be? You'd say it would be down 30 to 40% from here, right? But where is it? You know, it's up whatever, 15%,
exactly.
right?
No,
so
that's true.
That's why I think I'm such an anti-fundamental person, not because I don't think that fundamentals are real, but because I think there's so many people following these fundamentals that they're baked in the cake, you know?
Yeah.
So unless you can tell me a fundamental better than everybody else, which you cannot do, okay? You might once say, oh, I think the growth's going to be higher, and then it turns out higher. Okay, did that mean you were right? You know, it means you guessed right, but you're not going to be able to do that over time, right? So that's why I think all of this stuff, for me, is bullshit, in particular when it's consensus, which is always what it is, because they all have to agree, because nobody wants to stick out on Wall Street. They all just want to agree, because if they all get it wrong together, well, then who cares? They don't lose their job, right?
Yeah, we see the analysts chasing price all the time, right? I mean, it happens all the time. Last question I have here from Jack F. He's asking, more long, what type of strategy do you more long trade? Are you looking for more of that short term, middle term, and what could be like an average like position for you? Are you looking at weeks, months, or years?
Yeah, a few months. My typical position is a few months.
All right, not too.
So
And you're looking to.
I'm a market turn picker.
Nice.
I pick sort of medium to major market turns based on excessive sentiment and based on excessive participation, right? So I follow these things, right? So a recent trade we put on was we got short British pound, all right? So I fully understand the fundamental of the British pound. They are raising rates very quickly while people are assuming that the Fed is coming close to ending raising rates. So therefore, the interest rate differential is bullish to British pound. Okay, I get that. But the issue is that everybody gets it, and people are way too long British pound. So we had a piece of data come out last week where the Bank of England raised rates more than expected. They were more hawkish than expected, and that should be bullish to British pound. And the British pound closed down that day. So to me, that's the tape saying this trade's ready to go the other way. So I get short British pound there. That's kind of how I trade. And I'll sit on that. Either I'll get stopped out, it'll take out the high, and therefore I'm wrong, right? If I'm trading a turn and the market makes a new high, then I'm wrong. So I'll get stopped out there. Or it usually takes about 2-3 months before these people start to pile out of it, and you know, and I'll get out.
I love that talk. And, you know, I talk all the time about how, you know, a lot of times we start looking for kind of a logical approach to the market. The truth is there is no logical, like 100% of the time, the way that the market's going to work. I think you're talking a lot about that right there, because even if the pound is supposed to go up, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. And so even if you know the fundamentals,
not if everybody's already discounted it in, right? The market's a discounting process, and that's what people miss. You know, this whole thing of, oh, the market doesn't make sense to me. Well, the market doesn't make sense. Okay, so put that right out of your mind, because that's never going to work. All right, it's not supposed to make sense. If it made sense, this would be the easiest thing in the world to do, right? Go read an economics book or whatever and figure it out. But it doesn't make sense. It never will make sense, and it never has made sense. So if what you're doing is trying to make sense of it, you're playing the wrong game.
Love it. Couldn't have said it better myself. Definitely we'll have you back on, Jason. Definitely I'll throw up the link here for you guys. Give him a nice follow on Twitter. Check out his posts. It's always good to have you on, and we'll bring you back, right? I love this conversation, and I think it's really important to sometimes take a look at the other side of the coin. A lot of people just seem to stick on one side. Have a good one, Jason. Take care, man.
Take it easy, man.